Imagine yourself walking through a crowded street, people bustling around you, the noise of conversations and footsteps filling the air. It's chaotic, yet despite the throngs of people, you feel a profound sense of isolation. No matter how close you are to others, it's as if you are walking through life with a barrier between you and the world. It feels as though you are, in some fundamental way, alone, even surrounded by others. Now imagine the opposite. You are sitting alone in a quiet room, the world outside completely still. No distractions, no interruptions. It's just you and the silence. And instead of feeling lonely, you experience a sense of peace, a stillness that brings clarity and calm. In this moment, you realize something profound. You are at peace with yourself. It's not isolation. It's an intimate connection with your inner world. Which one is more empowering? The noise of the crowd or the silence of solitude? This is the paradox of solitude. It can either be a source of deep introspection or overwhelming isolation. For some, being alone feels like a prison, a dark place where anxiety and loneliness fester. For others, solitude is the very thing that unlocks their inner strength, clarity, and sense of peace. Why does solitude have such a profound impact on our well-being? Why does it seem to affect us so differently, depending on how we approach? These questions are not just theoretical, they are existential. We live in a world that often associates connection with others as the ultimate source of happiness, yet we rarely talk about the power of being alone, of retreating inward to discover who we truly are. Here we turn to the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, who radically redefined what it means to be alone. His views on solitude were far ahead of his time. While the world around him was filled with distractions, expectations, and external validation, Aurelius found a deeper strength through solitude. He didn't see solitude as something to fear, nor did he view it as a sign of weakness. Instead, he embraced it as a path to inner peace, self-mastery, and self-discovery. In his meditations, Aurelius often writes about the value of spending time alone, reflecting on the nature of existence and aligning oneself with virtue. He believed that solitude was not just a physical state, but a mental space where one could connect with their true self, free from the noise of society's judgments and external demands. This radical view on solitude can be seen as an invitation to explore the power of being alone, not in isolation, but in a deeper, more meaningful way. By turning inward, we can discover clarity, purpose, and a connection with our higher self. In this video, we'll delve into Marcus Aurelius's teaching, examining how solitude can serve as a tool for personal transformation, emotional resilience, and self-realization. The power of solitude, according to Aurelius, lies in its ability to connect us to our true nature, something that external distractions, relationships, and societal expectations often obscure. Through solitude, we can free ourselves from the noise of the world and return to the core of who we truly are. To fully understand the transformative power of solitude, we must first explore the Stoic philosophy of Marcus Aurelius. Aurelius, as a Roman emperor, was surrounded by external chaos, constant wars, political intrigue, and the weight of leadership. Yet, within this turbulent world, he found solace and clarity by turning inward. His Stoic teachings, particularly on the power of solitude, provide profound insights into how being alone can be a powerful tool for personal growth and self-mastery. At the heart of Stoicism lies the idea of self-reliance and inner peace. According to the Stoic worldview, external events are beyond our control, but we have the power to control our responses to them. Aurelius teaches that our inner world is the only true domain over which we have authority. By cultivating self-discipline and focusing on our internal state, we can navigate external turmoil with calmness and clarity. Aurelius's meditations repeatedly emphasize this principle. He writes about how one must constantly refocus the mind on virtue and rational thought in order to live a life of fulfillment. He believed that the true measure of a person's life is not their wealth, status, or external achievements, but their ability to maintain virtue, qualities like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, regardless of the chaos or challenges of the outside world. Solitude in this context is not only a retreat from external distractions, but also a powerful tool for self-examination, a means of aligning ourselves with our true nature and purpose. Through solitude, Aurelius practiced mental detachment from the external world. In this space of silence, he was able to disconnect from the noise of politics, war, and societal pressures, and instead turn inward. In solitude, he could recalibrate his mind and emotions, reassert control over his inner world, and reflect on the principles of Stoic virtue. It was during these quiet moments alone that he could reassess his motives, clear his mind of unnecessary distractions, and reconnect with his sense of inner integrity. The true power of solitude, as Marcus Aurelius and Stoic philosophy reveal, lies in its ability to foster self-reflection. Solitude is not about avoiding people or the world around you. It's about creating the space for introspection, to connect with your inner self, free from the distractions and noise that typically shape our thoughts. In a world filled with constant stimulation, social media, work obligations, social expectations, and the pressure to always be on, it becomes increasingly difficult to sit in quiet contemplation. Yet it is precisely in this solitude that we find the space to ask ourselves the difficult questions. Who am I really? What do I truly want? What is driving my actions and desires? For Aurelius, this kind of deep self-reflection was key to achieving personal clarity and emotional resilience. He believed that by regularly withdrawing into solitude, individuals could more easily evaluate their thoughts, actions, and decisions, free from the influence of external opinions or expectations. By regularly engaging in self-reflection, we learn to understand our desires, fears, and motivations, ultimately allowing us to cultivate virtues like patience, self-control, and inner peace. In solitude, you are forced to face yourself, not the idealized version of who you think you should be, but who you actually are. This can be a difficult experience as it brings up uncomfortable emotions and contradictions, but it is through this discomfort that we grow. Solitude provides the necessary space for confrontation, where we can finally look at the truth of our existence and the patterns of behavior that govern our lives. It allows us to question why we act the way we do, whether our actions align with our values, and whether our desires truly reflect our authentic selves or are simply products of societal influence. One of the most important aspects of Stoic thought is the idea that we cannot control external events, but we can control our responses to them. In a world where perfection is an illusion and external conditions are often beyond our control, solitude becomes a sanctuary. It allows us to practice detachment from the chaos around us, providing a space where we can focus on cultivating our inner peace despite the external storms. Aurelius was acutely aware of the overwhelming pressures of being an emperor, the responsibility, the criticisms, the constant demand. Yet, he consistently returned to the belief that the only thing truly in his control was his response to those external pressures. Solitude gave him the chance to reflect, to focus inwardly, and to practice resilience. It was in these moments alone that he could shed the weight of the world's expectations and reaffirm his own sense of purpose. Today, the pressures of the external world can feel even more pronounced. The demands of work, the relentless rush of social media, the bombardment of information, and the comparison game we are often forced to play. It is easy to get swept up in the current and lose sight of who we are or what we value most. Solitude provides the antidote. It offers us a mental reset, a chance to step back from the outside world and observe our own reactions to it. In solitude, we can determine whether our stress comes from circumstances we can change or whether it arises from the unrealistic expectations we place on ourselves or others. The act of detachment in solitude is key to achieving true peace. When we practice solitude regularly, we learn to separate our sense of self from external factors like other people's opinions, social validation, or material success. Instead, we root our identity in something more stable, our own inner values and principles. This is how we can remain unshaken in the face of external pressure, how we can face adversity without being consumed by it. Modern psychology offers a compelling validation of solitude's benefits, especially in terms of emotional regulation, creativity, and resilience. While some may perceive solitude as a negative state, leading to loneliness or depression, research has shown that time spent alone can actually lead to profound psychological growth. Solitude provides the necessary space to process emotions without the distractions of the outside world. It allows us to sit with difficult feelings such as sadness, anxiety, or anger, and experience them without judgment. In these moments of solitude, we develop emotional resilience by learning how to navigate and regulate our inner state. Moreover, solitude encourages creativity. When alone, we are less likely to be influenced by external opinions or the need for social validation, which frees us to explore our own ideas. Many creative individuals, from writers to artists, have cited solitude as the space where their best work was created. It allows for deeper concentration and the space to think without interruptions. The freedom from external distractions gives the mind the opportunity to process complex thoughts, leading to new insights and solutions. Mindfulness practices, rooted in Eastern traditions and increasingly adopted in modern psychology, also emphasize the importance of solitude for achieving mental clarity. The benefits of mindfulness, being present and fully aware in the moment, are amplified in solitude. In a world filled with distractions, solitude allows us to cultivate a mindful awareness of ourselves and the world around us, fostering emotional and cognitive balance. At first glance, solitude might seem like a burden, something to be feared or avoided. After all, in a world that constantly emphasizes the need for connection, success, and productivity, being alone is often seen as a form of failure. But when we look at the journey of personal growth, it becomes clear that solitude is not a weakness. It is a catalyst for profound transformation. When we spend time alone, we are granted the rare opportunity to truly examine ourselves, free from the noise, expectations, and distractions of the outside world. Solitude forces us to confront our own thoughts, desires, fears, and limitations. In this space, we can no longer hide behind the distractions of work, social obligations, or digital noise. We must face ourselves, and it is here, in the quiet moments of introspection, that we experience the most meaningful personal growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher-emperor, understood the power of solitude as a tool for self-discovery. For him, solitude was essential for reflecting on his actions, motives, and moral character. His meditations were written during moments of solitude, offering him a space to introspect and clarify his thoughts. Through his practice, he grew in wisdom, temperance, and self-awareness, all qualities that are difficult to cultivate amidst the distractions of social life. In solitude, we begin to understand our desires and flaws, recognizing patterns that we might otherwise ignore in the busyness of life. It's in the stillness that we can ask ourselves difficult questions. What do I truly want? What motivates my actions? What am I afraid of? These are not questions we can easily answer when we are distracted by the world, but in solitude, we are given the freedom to explore them deeply. Solitude allows us to strip away the masks we wear for others and see ourselves clearly. We can no longer rely on external validation or influence to tell us who we are. In isolation, we learn to define ourselves on our own terms. It is this process of self-discovery and self-definition that becomes a powerful force for personal transformation. Despite the obvious benefits of solitude, many people today experience a deep fear of being alone. This fear is not just about physical isolation, it is about the psychological discomfort of confronting ourselves. In an age dominated by social media, constant connectivity, and the pressure to maintain an image of a well-rounded social life, being alone has become synonymous with being abandoned, neglected, or less than. The modern world is built on the assumption that connection with others is a primary source of happiness and success. We're encouraged to constantly share our lives, opinions, and experiences with others through social platforms. But what happens when we are left alone? The fear of loneliness arises not because we are physically alone, but because we feel disconnected from others and perhaps even from ourselves. This fear often stems from the belief that being alone means being incomplete. However, Marcus Aurelius offers a radically different perspective. To him, solitude was not loneliness, but rather an opportunity to return to the self and to cultivate inner peace. In his writings, he often speaks of the necessity of retreating from the chaos of society, not to escape the world, but to reconnect with one's own mind and spirit. For Aurelius, being alone was not a sign of failure or rejection, but a chance to gain clarity, wisdom, and strength. Aurelius would have argued that loneliness is a product of the ego, the part of us that is constantly trying to measure up to others, to gain approval, or to fill a void with external validation. Solitude, however, offers a pathway to inner fulfillment, a place where we can reconnect with our true essence, free from the projections of others. In solitude, we can find contentment within ourselves, no longer dependent on the fleeting opinions of others to define our worth. One of the most profound benefits of solitude is that it allows us to engage in self-mastery, the ability to confront and control our emotions, desires, and impulses. In our everyday lives, we are often at the mercy of external stimuli, stressful situations, conflicts with others, societal pressures, all of which trigger emotions like anger, envy, fear, and frustration. These emotions can be overwhelming, especially when we are constantly reacting to them without reflection or control. In solitude, we are given the opportunity to detach from these external triggers and confront our emotions in a healthy, constructive way. Without the distractions of the outside world, we can observe our emotions as they arise, examine their roots, and choose how we respond to them. Instead of being swept away by anger or fear, we can choose to respond with patience, understanding, and rational thought. This is the essence of Stoic practice, the ability to control our inner responses regardless of the chaos around us. Marcus Aurelius writes extensively about this idea, reminding himself that while he cannot control the actions of others, he can control how he responds to them. Solitude becomes the perfect environment to practice this self-control, as we are able to pause, reflect, and choose our actions with intentionality. Emotional intelligence, a key component of self-mastery, is strengthened in solitude. By taking the time to process our emotions and understand our triggers, we become more resilient to stress and more capable of responding to challenges with equanimity. Instead of allowing external events to dictate our emotional state, we learn to master our inner world, cultivating an enduring sense of peace and strength that remains unshaken by life's fluctuations. Finally, one of the most profound aspects of solitude is the inner stillness it cultivates. In the silence, we are given the space to listen not just to the external world, but to the wisdom within ourselves. This stillness is not an absence of sound or activity, but a space where the mind can quiet itself enough to hear the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface. In Stoicism, inner stillness is crucial for achieving enlightenment. The Stoics believed that by detaching from external distractions, we could better align ourselves with nature's order, the logos, and the true essence of the self. Marcus Aurelius constantly sought this inner stillness, reflecting on his place in the world, his duties, and his purpose. His ability to turn inward and listen to his higher self enabled him to lead with wisdom and clarity, even in the midst of immense external pressures. In solitude, we begin to learn that silence is not an absence of noise, but a space for understanding. It is here that we can hear our inner voice, our true desires, and our authentic feelings. The wisdom that emerges from this stillness is not based on external influence but is rooted in our deepest truths. Solitude, therefore, becomes not just a retreat from the world but a journey into our inner world where we discover who we truly are. In today's world, solitude is often seen as an anomaly, a rare occurrence in a culture that thrives on constant connectivity. We are living in an era where the expectation to always be connected and available has reached unprecedented levels. Our phones are constantly buzzing with notifications, our social media feeds demand our attention at all hours, and our work lives have become 24/7. In this age of hyper-connectivity, the very idea of being alone is often met with discomfort or even fear. The pressure to always be engaged with the world around us leads to a disconnection from ourselves. Instead of taking time to be alone with our thoughts, we fill every moment with activity, whether it's scrolling through our phones, checking emails, or conversing with others. As a result, we rarely have the time or mental space to reflect on our inner world, to process our emotions, or to truly listen to what we need. The noise of the outside world often drowns out the voice within. Yet, this constant busyness comes at a cost. When we are always plugged in, we lose the opportunity to cultivate the deep self-awareness that solitude offers. We become more reactive to external stimuli, social media, conversations, obligations, rather than reflecting on our own values, goals, and desires. In a world where we are constantly connected, the deep, transformative power of solitude becomes harder to access. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, lived in a world filled with political unrest, wars, and personal demands. Yet, despite this chaos, he found peace and clarity through solitude. For him, the ability to retreat inward was essential to maintaining focus on his higher principles, finding wisdom, and leading with integrity. In contrast, today's society, in its pursuit of external validation and productivity, often leaves little room for such self-reflection and stillness. To reclaim the power of solitude, we must actively create space for it in our daily lives. In a world that encourages constant engagement, it requires intention and discipline to carve out time for ourselves. The first step is making solitude a regular practice, just as we might schedule meetings or social events. Even short moments of stillness can provide significant benefits, helping us connect with our deeper selves and build the mental clarity necessary for a more grounded life. Here are a few practical ways to embrace solitude. Meditation. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating solitude is meditation. By setting aside just a few minutes each day to sit in stillness, you can silence the noise of the world and tune in to your own thoughts. Meditation encourages mindfulness, helping you observe your thoughts without judgment and gain clarity on your inner landscape. It allows you to create a mental space where you can understand your emotions, release stress, and foster peace. Journaling. Writing is another excellent way to create space for reflection. By journaling daily, you allow your thoughts to flow freely onto the page, helping you process emotions, clarify your goals, and reflect on your experiences. Journaling is a practice of self-inquiry, where you can ask yourself meaningful questions and seek deeper insights about your life. It is a form of solitude that encourages introspection without the need for external influence. Walking alone in nature. Nature has an inherently calming effect on the mind, and walking alone in a natural environment is one of the best ways where some experience solitude. Whether it's a walk through the woods, along the beach, or in a quiet park, nature offers a peaceful backdrop for reflection. When you walk without distractions, your mind has the freedom to wander, process, and connect with deeper thoughts. This physical movement, paired with the stillness of nature, helps clear mental fog and bring a sense of calm and clarity. These activities allow us to engage with solitude intentionally, rather than it being a passive or uncomfortable state. They help us to reconnect with ourselves and provide the mental space needed to gain clarity and perspective. The key to unlocking the true power of solitude lies in how we approach it. Mindful solitude, taking time alone with the intention to connect with ourselves, is a powerful tool for clarity, creativity, and self-discovery. Mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in the moment, is often most effective when practiced in solitude. When we are alone and undistracted, we can observe our thoughts, feelings, and sensations with greater awareness and compassion. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, emphasize the importance of being present in the moment and focusing on the here and now. By taking moments of solitude, Aurelius was able to disengage from external demands and focus on what truly mattered: his character, his virtues, and his sense of purpose. Solitude, when practiced mindfully, provides a space for deep self-examination and the cultivation of inner peace. When we allow ourselves to sit with our thoughts in silence, without rushing to fill the space with distractions, we create the conditions for clarity of thought. In this stillness, we can examine our values, goals, and desires with a sense of objectivity. We become less influenced by external pressures and more attuned to our true self. Solitude becomes an opportunity to reconnect with our authenticity, to reassess our priorities and set a course that aligns with our deepest values. Mindful solitude also improves focus and mental resilience. In a world full of distractions, it is difficult to concentrate on a single task for long periods. However, through practices like meditation, journaling, or spending time alone in nature, we train our minds to remain focused and calm even in challenging situations. The ability to cultivate this focus in solitude transfers to our external lives, allowing us to tackle problems with greater clarity and determination. For many, the idea of solitude is fraught with negative connotations. It is often equated with loneliness, boredom, or even failure. Society teaches us that we should always be connected, always engaged with others, always moving forward. The idea of being alone, especially in today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, can feel like a form of social deprivation. However, this perception can and should be rewired. Solitude is not a punishment or something to be feared. It is an opportunity for renewal, growth, and creativity. By reframing solitude as a gift rather than a burden, we can begin to embrace its true power. Instead of seeing solitude as a space of emptiness, we can recognize it as a space of potential. It is in this space that we can listen to our inner wisdom, break free from societal expectations, and explore new ways of being. In solitude, we can tap into our creative potential, explore new ideas, and engage in self-empowerment. The myth of loneliness, often associated with being alone, can be debunked when we view solitude through the lens of personal growth. Instead of fearing what we might find in solitude, we should look at it as a sanctuary, a place where we can reconnect with ourselves, our dreams, and our purpose. As we delve deeper into the power of solitude, we reach the ultimate realization, the one that Marcus Aurelius discovered and reflected on in his meditations. Solitude, in its purest form, is not merely about being alone, it is about being with the self. In a world filled with distractions and constant external influences, solitude provides the rare opportunity to reconnect with your true essence, free from the noise of societal expectations and pressures. For Aurelius, solitude wasn't a space to hide from the world. It was a space to confront and connect with one's deepest truths. It was in solitude that he found the time to reflect on his actions, his beliefs, and his duties, to examine himself, his decisions, and the virtues that he aspired to embody. Through this regular process of reflection, he cultivated self-mastery, allowing him to live with integrity and remain steadfast even in the face of adversity. The key insight Aurelius offers us is that solitude is a pathway to freedom. Freedom from external validation, from the need to conform, from the constant striving for something or someone outside of ourselves. It is through solitude that we achieve inner peace, and it is in that peace that we can make better decisions, choose our responses wisely, and live a life that aligns with our personal values rather than societal norm. When we allow ourselves to truly be alone, we begin to shed the masks and roles that we often feel compelled to play in society. We can step away from the overwhelming demands of others and return to the authentic self, the person we are, without the need for external validation. This self-mastery, achieved through solitude, frees us from the constant pressure of needing to prove ourselves to others. In solitude, we can make the conscious choice to live according to our deepest principles, no longer influenced by the fluctuating opinions or expectations of those around us. This, in turn, transforms our experience of the world. Solitude becomes a space not of loneliness but of self-empowerment, where we connect deeply with our own values, desires, and truths. Now here's the paradox. The more we embrace solitude, the better we become at connecting with others in a meaningful way. At first, this may seem counterintuitive. How can spending time alone lead to deeper connections with others? Isn't connection something that happens when we interact with others, share experiences, and engage socially? The answer lies in understanding that true connection begins within. You cannot fully connect with others if you have not first connected with yourself. Think about it. How many times have we gone through life, interacting with others, but feeling disconnected, misunderstood, or unable to fully engage? This disconnect often comes from a lack of self-awareness, from not truly knowing who we are or what we stand for. We seek connection, but our sense of self is shaky, fragile, and influenced by external pressures. But solitude allows us to cultivate self-awareness. When we are alone, we have the chance to reflect on our thoughts, values, and experiences. We gain a deeper understanding of our emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. We learn what it means to be authentic, not by relying on the opinions of others, but by reconnecting with our inner truths. As Aurelius observed, self-mastery and virtue arise from this inner clarity. Only when we have mastered our emotions, reactions, and desires can we truly engage with others from a place of strength, authenticity, and understanding. By knowing ourselves fully, we bring our best selves to our relationships. Instead of projecting an idealized version of who we think we should be, we show up as we truly are, vulnerable yet strong, confident yet open to growth. In this way, solitude enables connection, not by separating us from others, but by allowing us to show up with greater integrity in our interactions. It is in our moments of solitude that we develop the emotional intelligence, patience, and understanding that we then carry into our relationships. The better we know ourselves, the better we are able to understand and connect with others. So, let us return to the idea of solitude. The concept of being alone can no longer be seen as a void, an empty, uncomfortable space. It is time we reframe solitude as a powerful opportunity. Not to escape the world, but to engage with it from a place of deep self-understanding and inner strength. Imagine walking through the world with clarity and purpose, not swayed by the opinions of others, not caught in the traps of seeking approval, but fully grounded in your own values. You are not perfect. You are human, and you embrace both your flaws and your virtues. You carry yourself with authenticity, and this authenticity becomes the basis for your connection with others. Marcus Aurelius, despite his vast power and influence, constantly turned inward. In his solitude, he found the wisdom to navigate the complexities of leadership, morality, and human nature. In solitude, he was able to lead with integrity and remain aligned with his highest ideals. His greatest revelation was not just about how to rule the Roman Empire, but how to rule the self. This was the core of his strength, knowing that true power lies within, and it is only through self-mastery that we can bring our best selves to the world. The power of solitude is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about finding the strength to engage with the world from a place of clarity, peace, and authenticity. It is about being present, not just in your own life, but in the lives of others, without losing sight of who you are. Solitude gives you the space to grow, to transform, and to emerge as a stronger, more connected version of yourself. So embrace your solitude. Don't see it as an absence of connection, but as a doorway to the most meaningful connection you will ever experience, the connection with your truest self. Through solitude, you find your strength, and through that strength, you can engage more fully with life, with others, and with the world. The truth is simple, yet profound. Solitude is not the absence of people, it is the presence of your true self. When you embrace solitude, you do not lose anything. Instead, you gain everything: clarity, peace, wisdom, and the ability to connect deeply with the world around you. As we conclude, take a moment to reflect on the paradox that solitude presents in our lives, in a world that constantly pulls us outward through distractions, social media, and expectations. It can feel almost unnatural to turn inward and spend time alone. Yet, the true power of solitude lies precisely in this inward journey. It's in the quiet moments of stillness that we hear the most profound wisdom, often hidden beneath the noise of our daily existence. Ask yourself, what would happen if you allowed yourself the space to be alone with your thoughts without distraction or the pressure to fill the silence? What truths could emerge from the depths of your own mind? What would you discover about yourself, your desires, your fears, your potential? In the relentless pace of modern life, it can be easy to shy away from these moments of introspection. But it is in solitude that we can begin to reorient ourselves, to reconnect with our deepest values, and to gain the clarity we so often seek in the external world. The paradox of solitude is that by embracing it, we not only become more connected with ourselves, but we also become more connected with the world around us. It is only through knowing ourselves fully that we can engage authentically with others. Marcus Aurelius offers us a powerful reminder in his words, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Marcus Aurelius. This quote encapsulates the essence of what we've explored. Solitude is not a retreat from life, but a return to our truest selves. It is in this space of inner peace that we can find the strength to face life's challenges, to lead with integrity, and to engage with the world from a place of deep clarity and authenticity. Now I invite you, yes, you, to embrace solitude as a tool of personal transformation. Start by carving out time each day to spend in silence, whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. Use these moments to reconnect with yourself, to understand your desires, and to strengthen your inner resilience. Don't be afraid of the quiet. Don't run from it. In solitude, you will find your true strength. Embrace it and discover a deeper, more authentic connection to your own soul and the world around you. You are not defined by the noise of others or the chaos of the world. You are defined by your ability to sit with yourself, to find peace within, and to emerge stronger, more grounded, and more in tune with your true self. Take this invitation as a call to action. Spend time alone, listen to your inner voice, and let solitude be your guide to true freedom and self-discovery.